Welcome to lesson number 6 in AZON Masterclass 3. Today we are going to be doing a lot of the exciting work on our site in terms of building out the rest of our content, all of our place pages that are actually going to be our big source of traffic generation on this site. Now, before I actually get into the creation of one of those pages for you, I want to talk about the supporting pages for just a minute here. I'm on one of the supporting pages for my site. I actually only have one of them on this particular site so far, but that certainly doesn't mean that you should limit yourself to just one supporting page for your site that you're building. It is really all going to depend on what your site is about and simply what will fit as supporting content. Now, for this particular site with dog parks and dog beaches, all of these facilities are run or maintained by the city. So you have official rules and laws that have to be followed whenever you decide to visit one of these places. So with that said, a page overviewing these rules and regulations for dogs and their dog owners simply fits in with what my site is about. Now, the main point of these supporting pages is, number one, you want to give people some information that they are going to need when they are looking for these other places that you're reviewing on your site. It could also be information that is complementary information to it. Let's say you're talking about different types of stores. Maybe you have other types of stores that are relational to your niche that you would want to cover, but maybe not feature as your main places. Maybe there's certain places that you say, okay, these are the places I really want to have traffic coming in for. And so you want to set up some supporting pages that can funnel traffic and some search power into those pages for you. So using my site here as an example, beyond the rules and regulations of these dog parks, I also could have had supporting pages that were other dog-friendly places or possibly businesses that were nearby to specific dog parks. That way I could have these supporting pages about those different places and have the main purpose of them to link up to whatever dog park they were actually centered around. So you have your content. The content can honestly be a wide variety of different things. It's really just going to depend on what you're trying to do. If it's basic informational content, give them a picture, give them some text, use a list if necessary. I just use some basic CSS styling to make this look a little different from the rest of the text. If you were creating a supporting material page that was another place, you can build those pages in the same way that you're going to see me build a place page here in just a few minutes. So you could be using this other tactic to build a page. Now, generally, I will build these as actual WordPress pages and not as a post. The only exception would be if I'm doing news or events or other places that I am intending on being my supporting materials. I would still create them as a post and have a category to sort them into. That way they can be separated on my site, but I can still kind of interlink the relevant parts. So with this page, I have links down at the bottom. Generally, this is where I put them, unless I have a really, really large page of content, and then I might put a link towards the top and another one towards the bottom. So whatever your relational page or pages are for your supporting materials page, just link up to those pages from your supporting materials page. This is going to, once again, help you funnel your search traffic and search rankings into those important pages of your site. Now, when you're actually doing the linking, you want to be using your targeted keyword phrase or a base of that targeted keyword phrase. For example, my targeted keyword phrases are basically these words with dog park or dog parks added on to the end of it. So I don't want to be sitting here, since I used a number of them, I didn't want to be putting dog park over and over and over again. So I left that part out and just used the base word. However, if I was just linking up to one single dog park from this page, I would have used the term Barrington Dog Park, for example, as the link that goes over to that page. So once again, this just helps you to re-emphasize your targeted keyword phrases on these other pages of your site, and it also helps you to bring some of the power of this page over to those other pages. The more pages you're building on your site as supporting materials pages, the more ranking power you can pass along to those really important pages of your site. So if you find yourself building out your site and maybe you sit back for a month or two and wait to see what kind of rankings you're going to get, to see if you're getting traffic in, maybe your rankings aren't quite as high as you want them to be. That's a time when these supporting material pages can really become extra useful for you. You can revisit your site and add back in supporting pages that target specific pages of your site where you need a little bit of a search ranking boost on them. And this way you can kind of fine-tune your site to get your rankings up where you are looking to get them. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is creating one of these actual place pages. Now, I'm technically using a WordPress post and not a page here. This is a page. These that target my dog parks, these are actually WordPress posts. So I go to Post and Add New, and I'm going to be creating a new post from here. Now I'm going to walk you guys through the creation of this step by step, because this is really the most complicated part of what you're going to be doing with building these sites. And it's also the most important. These should be the most elaborate, detailed pages of your entire website. As you can see, I have considerably more content on these pages than I have on any other pages of my site. The reason being is these are the pages where you want to get search rankings for certain targeted keyword phrases, like Westminster Off-Leash Dog Park. So there are a couple of steps that I want to walk you through that will teach you how to construct this place post on your own website. So to begin with, I want to point out a couple of different sections of your site. First, we have this box up in the top left-hand corner. A lot of this is HTML and CSS coding, and I have a code generator for you that is going to help you out with this. the rest of this page is basically content and many images. And most of these images are spaced out in groups of 3s going down the page. But then I have one image up here in this first box that I was talking about, and then I have another one that floats over here to the right in some of this other top content. So with that said, you should be able to at least visualize this as we are going through here and creating this post. So the first thing you really need to worry about are the images that are going to be going on this post. You should have the images by this point that either you have taken or you have hired a photographer to take for you. You then need to be able to take those images and upload them onto this post. Before you can do that, though, you may need to do a little bit of fine-tuning with the images themselves. I want to show you what I'm talking about here. Right here, I have the images for the post I'm going to be creating. This particular location actually have quite a few images for it. Now, most likely, I would not want to be putting all of these images on the post on my site because there's easily 100 of them here, 158 pictures that I have for just this one location. So I likely need to go through and weed out some of these images. So what I will do, if I have too many pictures, is I'll open up one of these to preview, and then I can just use the arrows on my keyboard to kind of flip through the images. And as you can see, a lot of the images are fairly similar. They might have just been taken one right after the next. So I'm likely not going to be looking to use all of these pictures. I'd probably want to use the one that would work out the best for my site, the one that maybe just looks the best or has the best focus to it. You also want to keep in mind that you really don't want to be showing people's faces, especially up close. People should not be able to identify themselves on your website unless they have given you permission to do so. So that's another reason why earlier on it was part of my message to the photographer that you're going to hire to not take pictures of people's faces in their shots. So as you can see, this shot here was probably intended to get this sign with the background of the beach, and they wanted to do it without people's faces in it, so they shot a couple of different versions here. And so this one here looks pretty good to me. I don't see any faces that are easily identifiable. All of them would be just in the background, which wouldn't be able to be made out. I get the beach curfew sign, I get the beach in the background. So I like the looks of this one. So once I pick out a picture that I like, then I will simply rename the picture. And this is going to be, if you have these general names or numbers that are going along with your pictures, you want to get more detailed than that. Google image search is actually a primary source of traffic for these sites. Not only can you get good search rankings with a site like this, but all of these pictures that you're loading up on your site can also get good rankings in Google image search, and this can bring in a lot of traffic to your site. So one of the important parts about getting those rankings is to provide some relevant keyword phrases in the title of your image. Now, you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to be using phrases that aren't relevant. I like to keep it fairly short if possible. Try to use 5 words or so, if you can, to describe a picture. So I might say something like curfew sign at Huntington Dog Beach. Now, you don't always have to put the location of your picture in. Huntington Dog Beach, for example, being this particular location. However, it is a good idea to make sure you are including that word or phrase, whatever your targeted keyword phrase is going to be for that page. It is a good idea to include that in at least some of your images. And I could try to change it up a little bit. Some of them I could say Huntington Beach, some of them I could just say Huntington, some of them I could say a reference to Dog Beach or Los Angeles or California. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of approach the same basic keyword phrase, but just saying it in a lot of different ways. So that's kind of what you want to be accomplishing with your pictures while also describing what your picture is about. So with that said, I would then continue on with my pictures and try to pick out more that I think are appropriate for my site. This would be another one here. I could either take the tall, skinny version or the wider version, whichever I happen to like the look of the best. Go back over here and rename it. Now, I'm not 100% sure what exactly this little sign is for. It's talking about an envelope being in, I'm assuming, this little blue container here. So it's probably something relating to either the city that runs the beach, or it could be one of these nonprofit organizations that helps to maintain the beach. So I may not know specifically what it is. If I did, though, I would definitely be labeling this picture as the specific thing that that sign is about, if it is a picture of a sign, for example. But here I can just say Huntington Beach Dog Enjoyment Sign. So I continue on through my pictures just like this until I have all of them gone through and picked out the ones that I want to be using on my site. Now, I'm going to speed through this video while I'm doing these pictures because this will take me a little while to go through 158 pictures and pick out the ones that I want and rename them all. But I wanted to point out at least a couple more things that can help you out in terms of renaming your pictures. Anytime that you can take a general keyword phrase and turn it into a more specific phrase, you should always take the opportunity to do so. And a great example of this is pictures of dogs with my particular site. I would obviously want to be including some pictures of dogs at Huntington Dog Beach on this particular page of my site. And I could simply rename these files and label them as something simple and generic like Dog at Huntington Dog Beach or Dog at the Beach or Dog at the Beach in California, whatever the case may be. But it would really be more beneficial to my site and make my site look better in terms of the search engines, if I could get rid of some of those generalized phrases and get much more specific with it. And the dog is a great example because this isn't just a dog. I could find out exactly what breed of dog this is in most cases. Even if I'm a little off, if it happens to be a mixture of two breeds, and maybe I only identify it as one of those breeds, it's not a major deal, but the point is you're going from using a phrase like dog at the beach to using a phrase like terrier, Jack Russell Terrier at the beach. I know this is not a Jack Russell Terrier, but I believe it may be some type of terrier or setter type of dog. So just as an example, you can see how that general phrase turns into a much more specific phrase. And I guarantee you these days that Google is looking at this kind of stuff when it comes to your websites. If you're building a website about dogs, Google knows all those possible words that people will often use on a website about dogs. It's pretty much guaranteed that a dog website would make reference to specific breeds of dogs and not just simply say dog this and dog that and so on and so forth. So hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to get at here with don't just rush through these pictures with your labeling. If you have the opportunity to get really specific and to use some of those semantic keyword phrases, like instead of saying dog, saying the actual name of the breed of that dog. This type of stuff will do wonders for your search rankings. I've now gone through all of my pictures and selected the ones that I want to put on my website and rename them with appropriate names and keyword phrases. At this point, I want to figure out how many pictures I have selected for my site. I can do this by selecting them in my folder here. If there's two groups of them, oftentimes if you rename them, you'll get a group above and a group below your originals. You can simply click and select all of the ones that you want, and it'll tell you how many items you have picked out. What you are looking for with the count of your pictures is going to be affecting how your site ends up looking. And what I'm referring to here are the number of pictures that you have on a page. We have one at the top, one over at the right, and then everything else is a group of 3 going down the page. So with that said, I'm looking for a multiple of 3 plus 2, or minus 1, whatever the case may be. So what that really means is I want to take my number that I have and I want to divide it by 3. So I get 10 with a remainder of 2. And that's what you're looking for, is a remainder of 2 after you divide by 3. And that will ensure that you have an even number of pictures to put 3 in a row going down your page, and then you'll have 2 left over to go at the top of your page. So this could be 32 pictures, this could be 5 pictures, or it could be 8 pictures, and so on and so forth. As long as you have a multiple of 3 with 2 left over. So if you need to, add in an extra picture Or maybe select one of the pictures that you had picked out and decide not to use it if you need to adjust your number there. So now that we have all of our images picked out, we can then go to the website and begin to load them up. And this is actually the first thing that I will do here on a new post. So I click on Add Media, then I click on Upload Files, and then I click on Select Files. And then all I need to do is simply select all of those files that I had renamed. So the renaming part also makes it a lot easier to then go through and pick out the ones that you actually want to be using. Now, notice I'm selecting a group at the top and a group at the bottom. I'm holding down the Control button, at least on a Windows computer. And this allows me to select different groups of them at the same time. So now once I have all my files selected, then I just click on Open here, and it is going to begin uploading all of these different pictures for me. Now, this part will likely take a little while. Depending on the size of the pictures, and sometimes even dependent upon the settings that you have on your web server, this process can go faster or slower, or sometimes go a little different. Now, once a picture uploads here, you can see the little preview of it. So you're looking to see a preview of all of these pictures that are checked before you actually proceed with clicking on this Insert into Post button. Now, once you see a preview, as this is going through and uploading all these pictures, when you see a preview, go ahead and click on it, and then go over here to the right and look at this information. What you're wanting to do is assign a caption and alt text, and oftentimes you can just make these two the same thing. Depending on how you have named your pictures, sometimes you can just kind of set your caption based on what your image has been named. So for this particular one, these are benches along the trails at Huntington Dog Beach. So I might just say benches along trails. I don't necessarily need to re-emphasize the Huntington Dog Beach part. So after I have the caption and the alt text provided, then I'm simply going to continue on to the next one. Now, one final thing, just to make sure that these settings are correct down below, make sure the alignment is on center and make sure the size is set to medium. And then this should be linking up to the media file. So assuming all that is correct and then you have these two punched in, then you can proceed on to your next picture. And just complete the process as these pictures are uploading. Assign the caption and the alt text to go along with it. Now, a number of these pictures that I am uploading are actually going to be failing to upload, and they're starting to happen right here. The reason why this is happening is because of the size of the pictures. For this one particular location, my photographer had used a really high quality camera to take some pictures, and the file sizes are pretty hefty. Let's see, this image here starting with Black Labrador. That image is 14.1 megabytes in size. So my web server is simply not set up to allow uploads of a file size that are this large. So that is why these pictures are failing to upload right here. So there are some things that you can do about this. If you experience this on your own website, you can go out to Google and just search for a way to resize an image that will allow you to upload an image, and then you can download a smaller version of it. You still want to keep your file size and your resolution as high as you possibly can, but obviously you need to be able to proceed with actually uploading the images. Another option is to go into your web server settings and simply increase the upload max file size limit. And if you're not sure how to do that, you may be able to contact your web host and just simply ask them to do that. Just say, hey, I'm trying to upload a picture that's 15 megabytes in size and it's not uploading, could you maybe adjust my settings so I could upload something that big, maybe even go to 20 megabytes or something like that. So there's really a couple different ways around it. You can use Photoshop if you have it to simply resize the pictures. That is typically what I end up doing. So however many pictures succeed with the upload, that's great. If you have any of them that fail, then simply go back through and resize them and then attempt to upload them again. Now this whole process here is going to take a little while in terms of uploading the pictures, so I will be fast forwarding through this particular part to get to the more relevant training here. So I went ahead and loaded up one of these pictures into Photoshop. If you happen to use Photoshop, this is a really easy way that you can actually resize them. Just open it up with Photoshop. Go to image size, make sure resample down here is set to the bicubic sharpener for reduction, and then all you have to do is adjust these numbers here. If you have pictures on your site that are succeeding to upload, you may just be able to reference those pictures and see what the file dimensions are. This is something that you can do right here. If you just click on a image in the Windows Explorer, you can usually look at the bottom and see what the file size is and what the dimensions are. So I could see that some of my pictures that are uploading correctly, they're 7 megabytes and 4,000 by 3,000. But then I have these other pictures that are not uploading and they're 14 megabytes and 5,600 by 3,700. So I may just be able to go in to this particular picture and reduce the dimensions to bring them more along the lines of what those other pictures are. So I'm going to do a width of 4,000 here, and it will change my height appropriately. And you can see the image size is getting reduced approximately in half by making this change. So that's really what I'm trying to achieve. So once I have it at a smaller file size, I can save it as it is as long as I have made a backup of the higher quality resolutions, because obviously that would still be good to have them in the original format. So I could either save as this if I have a backup elsewhere, or save it as a new file if need be. Now this is the other part. Your JPEG options. If it is a JPEG file, you may be selecting the actual quality of this picture here. So look at the file size over here on the right. This is going to tell you what the final file size is actually going to be. And if it's along the lines of what you're looking for, great. Go with the highest possible while still getting the file size you're looking for. If you needed to reduce it a little bit, let's say I needed to go under 5. I could drop down to 11, and then I'd have a 4.9 megabyte file. For my site, I know a 7.8 should work out good, so I'm going to resize it with the best quality and click on OK. So this saves it to my computer now with the resized size. So then I will simply repeat this process with any images that failed, and then I can upload them successfully. So after resizing all my files that failed to upload, I went back through Upload Files and selected those files again and got them all uploaded correctly now. And then I also went through each of them, providing the caption and the alt text. And a lot of times I strip out my repetitive keyword phrase, Huntington Dog Beach. I don't need to keep repeating that in the captions over and over again on this page. So for this picture I might say like relaxing in the sand. There are a few cases though where I still use the word Huntington Dog Beach or Dog Beach in the captions, but I've done it very sporadically throughout all of these pictures. So once I have all the pictures uploaded, all the captions and the alt text provided, and I make sure all the pictures are selected. You can tell they're selected because they all have a check mark next to them. Then I am ready to proceed with clicking on the Insert into Post button. Now, a couple things to note here about clicking on this button. You can see that immediately nothing showed up. It kind of took it a minute to display all the information for these images. So be patient with your site. Give it a minute or two, if necessary, to display all this information for all these images that you just uploaded. Once you have all these in your page, then you can proceed. Now, if for some reason, let's say you wait 10, 15, 20 minutes and nothing ever shows up here. Something that you can do, it's not very fun to do, but I have had to do it a few times before using many images all at once. If you just go back into Add Media, you can select one, maybe two at a time. If you hold down the Shift button and then click on another one, you'll select everything in between them. Try just selecting 2 or 3 at a time and clicking Insert into Post, and then go to the next ones until you have inserted all of them. And again, that's only if it won't insert all of them for you at the same time. So once they are all in your page, the next thing we're going to do is to preview our page. Just click on the Preview button, and this will allow us to see all of our images as well as all of our captions that we have created to go along with those images. So I want you to look for a couple of particular things here. Number one, note any images that are aligned differently than the other ones. I'm really talking about the orientation of the image. How this one is a tall, skinny image, and most of them are long, wide images. These will need to be placed in a particular way to get them to show up correctly on your site. Now I'm talking about like this. I'll usually try to put the tall, skinny one in the middle, unless I have more tall, skinny ones, in which case I might put them on the sides and put the wide one in the middle, as I have done down here. It really just kind of depends on what pictures you have and how they're oriented, and also how you want to group them. And that brings me to my next point. What you want to do when you're previewing this page is to go through and say, okay, which of these pictures kind of go together? Which could I group in a set of 3 that would work well together, that I could maybe write a sentence or 2 worth of content about? And you also want to be looking for which image you think is the best and most representative of this place. And you can also pick out kind of a number 2 image for that purpose, because you not only have the groups of 3 images going down your page, but then up at the top of the page, you have your 2 featured images. So you want to kind of identify the images that you want to use up here at the top, and then the remaining images you want to go through and group into sets of 3. So looking at my own page, I have some pictures that are showing the different paths and trails and features on the roadside, like roadside parking and stuff like that. So those images would easily be grouped together. I have other images that are dogs playing at the beach. Those images would be easy to group together. I have other images like signs of different rules or things of that nature. Official types of buildings like the lifeguard stand and the restroom building. I have scenery pictures like the shipping tankers at sea and another picture of Long Beach, California in the background. So depending on what your pictures are and what you have selected to show up on your site, you can easily group them into different categories, if you will. And that will help you to break it down to get your finalized listing of groups of 3s. So going back up to the top here, I have benches along trails, I have bikes, dogs, surfing, boogie boarding, and more. I have a roadside parking. I have another bike riding path. I have a metered roadside parking. I have a paved path. I have a Pacific Coast Highway, bicycle riding path. So I have a number of things that are kind of features outside of the dog park. These are kind of my surrounding area pictures. So I will group all these together, and I will likely also put those towards the bottom of the page, whereas a lot of the pictures more representative of what this place really is, like my dog beach panorama here and the dogs playing. These would be grouped more towards the top of the page. So with that said, if you need to flip back and forth to do this, it's okay. If you kind of spend a little while looking at your pictures and you're familiar with them and all the captions you have assigned to them, you may just be able to go through this code here and pick out your images. You can see each one is kind of grouped like this, and at the end of it you have your caption. So I know that these top 2 kind of went together. So what I will do, especially since I know I'm going to be putting these towards the bottom of the page, is I'm going to cut them out of the page and scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to paste them back in. And I created some blank space here just to kind of visually separate them from the rest. So now I can go back through my list here and try to pick out some of those other pictures that we're going to go along with it. So I have another one here, a bike riding path. I'm going to paste it down at the bottom with it. Up here, paved path, the road next to it, metered parking, another path picture, I'll cut these out. It looks like I have one more up here. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one while I'm here. So now I have these pictures down at the bottom that I feel like will kind of go together. And as you can see, I have 8 of them. So I need groups of 3s. So I need to try to find one other picture that I could maybe group in with that stuff. So I can make sure that I didn't miss anything as I was going through. If need be, I can just select something that's pretty close to it, like this restroom building picture. So now I have these 9 pictures at the bottom, and I know they're all going to kind of go together. But now I need to refine this into groups of 3s. So I can try to pick out the ones that go together even more. Like I have this one here about parking and this one about parking. So I could put these together. And then the one below it here is about the road. So I could make these into a separate group of 3. The remaining pictures here, I have the restroom building, bike riding path, a paved path next to the beach, bike riding. I make another reference to bikes here as well. So I have 3 that have a reference to bicycles. So I'm going to group those together. And then by default, I will have these other 3 that will be grouped together. So now I have 3 groups of 3 pictures that I've created out of those 9 pictures. And notice that I am separating each of the groups with a number of blank lines. This way I can kind of scroll through my list and easily see group of 3, group of 3, group of 3. So this is what I want to make my entire page look like, minus those 2 pictures that I have picked out to be the top pictures of my site. So the top picture of my site, I could easily make this panorama picture, that particular picture. There may be another 1 or 2 that are representative of this whole place. I think I'm going to stick with that one. So this one is going to be my very top picture. And this is going to be the one that's up in the top left-hand corner of the site, right here. Now, notice one thing about this picture that is different from all of the other pictures. This picture does not have a caption. I leave off the caption of just this one picture on the page because it's more or less representative of the whole place. So with that said, this one picture, I need to remove the caption from it. To do that, you select this caption part from the beginning. Look for these brackets. There's an opening bracket and a closing bracket. You want to select the entire thing from the opening bracket to the closing bracket and delete it. Then at the end, you have this caption thing here along with the actual caption. So delete this part at the end, then delete your actual caption, everything leading up to the coding for this linked image. So that's simply going to give us the image and not the caption to go along with it. So I'm going to leave this guy up here at the top of the page by itself. So now I also need to pick out a second picture for the page. My second picture for the page If I need two pictures to kind of show what the place is really about, I could put another one. If I have a picture of the sign, official rules, or something like that for the place, if I was doing a restaurant, I might put their menu right here, for example. Another what I would consider to be important picture out of the group is what I try to select as my second picture here. If you don't have anything super important like that, then just pick something that is, again, representative of the whole place. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a really good one for this particular location or not, so I might just pick something kind of representative of the place. Might just simply pick like this dog at the beach here or something. So I have Black Lab at Dog Beach that I need to find in here. Right here. So I select this image out and I move it up to the top also. But again, I leave some space in between all of this. So I know that these are my top two images. And I know everything else in the middle here needs to be grouped up in pairs of 3. So you should get an idea of how this is going to go now. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the grouping of the rest of these images so I can show you what comes next.